So
and the light, you could see what you were trying to project.
Exactly. So anybody coming to see trailers, I apologize for that. But this way we can at least get into any questions that you want to ask us. And we always tell people, you know, I'm sure you've heard 1,000 answers coming from us and interviews on YouTube. But if you have a question that you've been dying to ask, something that you're really curious about, you know, share it with us, and we will give you the best answer we can come up with. Is there another?
We don't have it. You know what? It won't reach, will it? Yeah, we could share one this week.
There you go.
You guys yell or come up so that we can hear your question. I knew I was an electrician.
Richard, working on both shows and how were the special effects for you guys compared to what you've seen now with the CGI and the green screen improvements?
Well, since I did not do both shows, I only did the original show. Our effects back in those days were all filmed. We had no green screen. There was no CGI. Our effects were all filmed and added in later. And they still hold up beautifully. They really do if you look at it. But then that was John Dykstra, who had just done Star Wars. You know, we had Industrial Light and Magic. Is that what it was called? Industrial Light and Magic. And so Richard can address the, you know, later, he's done more green screen work than I have, but as far as an actor, it doesn't really affect your performance. I mean, you still have to pretend that there's a giant purple monster next to you, whether he's going to be filmed and added later or put on a green screen. So it really wasn't that different for me as an actor. You know, Richard, the virtual sex scenes, when you weren't there and they had to add you in later, that I had to pretend you were there.
Wow. You know, sex scenes, by the way, that's a whole other discussion. How many people, you know, you watch all these sex scenes and romantic scenes in movies, right? And 99% of the time, they're really uncomfortable. Seriously. People are, a lot of times they have to have shots of, you know, something.
There's 100 people standing
really,
around
I mean,
holding lights.
Really, it's incredibly uncomfortable, but every once in a while, you know, you kind of hit it off with the right person and you'll do a, you know, something. And I remember shooting a scene with Susan Blakely, who was an actress that starred in Rich Man, Poor Man with Nick Nolte, which kind of started his career. And they have the whole crew around us. We're doing this scene, and this woman, I mean, unlike just about every actress I had worked with, she was totally uninhibited. She was like so into it. I mean, within a few minutes, I'd forgotten myself. We're having this incredible, like, whatever. And I'm going, oh my God, you know, and I forget the cameras, forget everything. And by the end of it, I'm going, oh my God, like this. And all of a sudden, this guy walks up, and Susan looks up, and she goes, oh, let me introduce you to my husband. Swear to God. Anyway, back to Battlestar. The scene, you know, it's amazing because obviously John Dykstra, who did the special effects for Star Wars, did the special effects for us, at least for the first few episodes of the show. And he, just so you know, I mean, his company is the ones that have done most of the special effects for the Spider-Man movies, all the recent Spider-Man movies, and so many other wonderful movies. So, I mean, his work, his artistry is the top of the line. But like he said, we had back projection back then, right, instead of green screens. So in a sense, you know, we're flying along in a Viper, and just like what we did today, instead of a green screen, we had back projection, and then we had the crew kind of rocking the ship, making it look like there's some motion. And basically the same thing, only there's a green screen where they can put in what we call a backplate. And the backplate can be whatever they want to create. It can be stars going by, it can be other ships, you know, firing, it can be any kind of scenario that you want. But nevertheless, the actor has to really use their imagination in order to create the reality and relate to it as if it was true. I think you know, one of the great things about special effects today is that we're able to take projects that normally would be undoable because the budgets aren't big enough to create the landscape of a bigger-than-life movie, right? Where you have maybe tens of thousands of ships or tens of thousands of people. And now with the artistry of CGI, you can really multiply scenes of human beings. You can take, I even did that in the Second Coming trailer, where we filmed on a, how many people saw the Second Coming trailer? Anybody? One person saw the Second Coming trailer? Well, if you haven't seen it, it's a trailer that we put together in order to inspire a revival of Battlestar. You can go on YouTube and check it out. Just put Second Coming trailer in and you'll be able to see it. But we shot a scene over at the Long Beach airport with they had a whole crew of helicopter pilots that sat in with us just to give us some people, make it look like we had some human beings in the shot. And then what we did is we marked it out mathematically, and then we multiplied these 20 people into like 1,000 people. And really, the whole majesty of CGI is very much the artistry of magic. You are creating the illusion of something, and the artistry is obviously not to show you the trick, right? So that you see what the trick is. And the artistry of great CGI is that they give you the illusion of something, but they don't show it to you for very long. Because if you looked at it long enough, you'd realize it wasn't real. So for me, the artistry of CGI has really allowed a lot of movies. How many people have watched Game of Thrones? How many people have watched some Spartacus? Okay, there's some really great shows. And these look like theatrical movies now, done for television. Which, by the way, is what Battlestar attempted to do 35 years ago, was to do a theatrical-sized show on a weekly basis. Which, by the way, back then, was almost impossible. Which is why, I think, one of the reasons they started pulling the budget back after a show one, where, and I'm sure you saw some redundant special effects, where you saw the same flying sequences over and over again. They just, for whatever reasons, did not embrace science fiction, began pulling back the budget. Even though we had 65 million people and we were in the top 10, here they are trying to save money already. My thought is they really should have continued to put the money there and to create a, you know, what that show was capable. I think that show would have gone on for the next 10 years had they made some better decisions about it. But nevertheless, networks did not get science fiction back then, and fortunately today they're beginning, and I say just beginning, because in many ways they still have an issue with science fiction. And as we all know, the Science Fiction Channel doesn't seem to really even embrace science fiction for the most part. You know, I mean, how many thought that we'd have a science fiction convention? And by the way, it's cool, but it's amazing how wrestling has become part of science fiction and all these other things, which started, by the way, on the Sci-Fi Channel. You know, so anyway, it was a long answer to a short question. How's that?